Welcome to HornAfrica Insight, your source for East Africa news. Today's 5 stories. Indian Prime Minister Modi arrives in Ethiopia for historic visit. The UN and African Union mark 25 years since the Algiers agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Sudan's al-Burhan in Riyadh as regional peace efforts intensify. Eritrea withdraws from IGAD once again. And the United States shifts its Africa strategy toward resources and trade. Let's dive into the facts. This is HornAfrica Insight. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Ethiopia today for a 2-day state visit, his first trip to the country. The visit comes at a significant moment as India prepares to assume the rotating chair of BRICS in 2026, and Ethiopia recently joined the bloc as one of its newest members. Indian ambassador to Ethiopia, Anil Kumar Rai, has called this visit historic, signaling a deepening partnership between the two nations. Modi is scheduled to hold extensive talks with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, focusing on several key areas: bilateral relations, investment opportunities, agriculture, mining, digital infrastructure, and cybersecurity cooperation. A highlight of the visit will be Modi's address to a joint session of Ethiopia's parliament, a rare honor that underscores the importance India places on this relationship. Ambassador Rai emphasized that the visit aims to strengthen cooperation and coordination on pressing global issues, including UN reforms and BRICS agendas for the coming year. The timing is strategic. Ethiopia hosts the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa and remains one of Africa's fastest-growing economies, despite recent challenges. For India, this visit represents a broader push into African markets, with particular interest in trade, technology, and security partnerships. Modi is expected to discuss energy projects and infrastructure development, sectors where Indian companies have significant expertise. For Ethiopia, the visit offers an opportunity to attract much-needed foreign investment as the country works to stabilize its economy and expand its industrial base. The question remains: can this visit translate diplomatic goodwill into concrete economic partnerships that benefit both nations? UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres marked a somber anniversary last Thursday, 25 years since the signing of the Algiers Agreement on December 12, 2000. That agreement ended one of Africa's deadliest border wars between Ethiopia and Eritrea, a conflict that killed tens of thousands and displaced hundreds of thousands more. The Algiers Agreement established an independent border demarcation commission and reaffirmed the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity for both nations. It was meant to close a bloody chapter and open a path toward peace. Yet, a quarter-century later, tensions persist. In his statement, Guterres urged both Ethiopia and Eritrea to recommit to the spirit of the agreement. He called for good neighborly relations and development cooperation, emphasizing that lasting peace requires more than signed documents. It demands ongoing dialogue and mutual respect. African Union Commission Chairperson Mahmoud Ali Yusuf echoed these sentiments, hailing the Algiers Agreement as a historic accord that represented the aspirations of both peoples for cooperation and prosperity. He urged renewed dialogue and trust-building measures to prevent escalations that could undermine regional security. The AU, he stated, stands ready to support any efforts toward reconciliation. There was hope in 2018 when Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki signed a joint declaration in Asmara, seemingly ending 2 decades of hostility. Abiy even won the Nobel Peace Prize for the breakthrough. But that optimism has faded. Ethiopia's recent claims regarding sea access through Eritrean territory have strained relations once more. The border demarcation ruling remains only partially implemented, and mistrust runs deep. Can this 25th anniversary serve as a catalyst for genuine dialogue? Or will it be just another reminder of promises unfulfilled? The region watches closely. Sudan's Sovereign Council head, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, arrived in Riyadh this Monday, where he was received by Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Abdulrahman. The visit follows al-Burhan's November statement praising Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's peace initiative, which outlined a roadmap to end Sudan's devastating civil war. The conflict in Sudan has raged since April 2023, pitting al-Burhan's Sudanese armed forces against the rapid support forces led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti. The war has killed tens of thousands, displaced over 12 million people, and pushed approximately 25 million Sudans toward famine. International observers have called it one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Saudi Arabia has positioned itself as a key mediator, working alongside the United States, Egypt, and the UAE in what's known as the Quad. Together, these nations helped broker the Jeddah Declaration in 2023, though its terms have been repeatedly violated. UN Secretary-General Guterres recently met with Crown Prince bin Salman to discuss the crisis, and new talks are reportedly planned in Geneva. But here's where things get interesting. Just last week, Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki visited Port Sudan, meeting with al-Burhan. Now, Afwerki has also traveled to Riyadh. Is this merely coincidence or something larger being coordinated behind the scenes? Eritrea's involvement is significant. Afwerki has long maintained close ties with various Sudanese factions and has experience navigating the region's complex politics. His back-to-back visits to Port Sudan and Riyadh suggest he may be playing a mediating role, perhaps serving as a back-channel communicator between parties reluctant to engage directly. Some analysts speculate that a broader regional framework is being assembled, one that could address not just Sudan's war, but interconnected issues across the Horn, Red Sea security, Ethiopia-Eritrea tensions, and economic integration. Saudi Arabia, with its economic leverage and diplomatic reach, may be orchestrating a comprehensive approach. The question is whether these efforts can produce a genuine ceasefire, or if they're simply another round of high-level meetings that fail to translate into peace on the ground. For millions of Sudanese trapped in conflict, hope is running thin. Can this diplomatic activity finally bring relief? Eritrea has announced its withdrawal from the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, or IGAD, barely 2 years after rejoining the regional bloc. For analysts, this move exposes deep-seated mistrust and further undermines regional institutions already struggling with credibility. Eritrea originally left the intergovernmental bloc in 2007, citing bias and interference in its affairs. The country remained outside the bloc for 16 years before surprisingly returning in 2023. That decision was seen as a potential turning point, a sign that Eritrea might be willing to engage constructively with its neighbors. But tensions over Somalia and Ethiopia quickly soured the reunion. When Ethiopia signed a sea access deal with Somaliland earlier this year, Somalia reacted furiously, viewing it as a violation of its sovereignty. Eritrea backed Mogadishu's position, while the intergovernmental bloc members were divided. Some pushed for mediation. Others remained silent. Eritrea accused the bloc of bias, claiming it failed to address Ethiopian actions fairly. Asmara's exit highlights the fragility of regional cooperation. Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, was established to handle conflicts, promote economic integration, and coordinate on issues like food security and environmental challenges. Yet it has struggled to maintain unity among its deeply polarized members. Eritrea has long been isolated in the region, often pursuing policies at odds with its neighbors. Its strained relationship with Ethiopia over unresolved border issues and sea access claims adds another layer of complexity. With Eritrea now outside the bloc once more, analysts warn of a potential power vacuum and increased instability, particularly around the Red Sea corridor. Can the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, regain the trust of member states and function as an effective regional body? Or is it destined to remain a forum where countries talk past each other while pursuing conflicting agendas? The bloc's relevance may depend on its ability to address these fundamental questions. The United States has unveiled a new national security strategy that fundamentally reframes its approach to Africa. Gone is the traditional focus on development aid and democracy promotion. In its place, a transactional strategy centered on resource competition, trade, and countering Chinese influence. The strategy views Africa primarily as a battleground for control over critical minerals and energy resources. The continent holds vast reserves of cobalt, lithium, rare earth elements, materials essential for electric vehicles, batteries, and advanced technologies. With China dominating these supply chains, Washington sees Africa as a strategic imperative. The new approach shifts from aid to investment and trade. The U.S. will partner with what it calls reliable states that open their markets and align with American interests. It plans to support nuclear and natural gas projects, amend the African Growth and Opportunity Act to include reciprocal trade deals, and accept African leaders as they are, a notable departure from previous human rights conditionality. The strategy backs infrastructure projects like the Lobito Corridor, a railway linking mineral-rich regions of Zambia and the Democratic Republic of Congo to Atlantic ports, deliberately bypassing Chinese-built routes. It also emphasizes efforts to resolve conflicts in Sudan and the DRC, viewing stability as necessary for secure resource extraction and supply chains. Critics argue this transactional approach risks alienating African populations and governments, potentially driving more nations toward China and Russia. They warn it could lead to uncritical support for autocratic regimes, undermining governance and human rights. By ignoring broader development needs, education, healthcare, infrastructure for citizens, rather than just extraction, the U.S. may squander long-term goodwill. Africa will represent 25% of the global population by 2050. The continent's youth, urbanization, and economic potential are undeniable. Yet this strategy largely ignores social issues that matter most to Africans themselves. Can the United States secure its interests without triggering a backlash? Or will this approach prove short-sighted, sacrificing relationships for resources? From Modi's historic visit to Ethiopia, to the Algiers Agreement's troubled legacy, to diplomatic maneuvering around Sudan's crisis, to Eritrea's exit from IGAD, and America's new resource-focused strategy, the Horn of Africa remains at the center of global attention. If you found this episode informative, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on X for daily updates and breaking news from the region. This has been HornAfrica Insight. Stay informed, stay engaged.